All right. Hey, everybody. It's Noah with the Zone Podcast. Today I'm with Preston Pennington.
Hey guys, how's it going?
He owns EnerG. Go ahead and tell us how you got into solar.
Yeah, absolutely. So, pretty much I got into solar about 6 years ago in a pretty unconventional way. I was actually running a internet marketing company. We're doing social media advertising. I was working with a lot of real estate investors. Building websites, getting leads for them. So it kind of led where I could, kind of bounce into industry. One night, the way that I actually got into the solar aspect is it was a Friday night. Really wasn't doing much. I was playing Fortnite. Fortnite was my stress relief. I had a couple of online buddies. So one night, I'm playing with one of these guys who's out in El Paso, and he starts talking to me. He's like, "Hey man, what do you do again? Don't you do marketing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I own a social media marketing." And he's like, "Oh, cool." He's like, "Well, I work for a solar company and we really need like some online lead generation. We need a new website." So, I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." So that following Monday, I'm on a phone call with his boss. We start doing lead generation, building him a website. And, his boss is like, "Hey man, I think you'd be really good at this solar stuff." And I'm like, my marketing company's, pretty successful. Like, I don't know if I can really, add that onto my plate. And, finally he convinces me to open up a branch here in Dallas. So, one thing leads to another, start growing a sales team. And, eventually, I parted ways with him and was running my own entire solar company, found some better deals with my own installation crews and, fast forward today, but it all started from Fortnite. So I guess you can, say that Fortnite has made me millions.
So with that, like a lot of people on the internet mostly are just like, okay, after you get something done, you know what I mean? Like they're always like, how do you have time to play video games? You know what I mean? You got to always go grind. Right. But I find that most people, you need that time to chill out. Yeah. Like when do you usually how do you keep yourself in check on that?
Honestly, my days usually start between 7:30. I'll wake up, I'll go to the gym, trying to shed some lbs. Then I kind of head to the office, check my emails, start the calls, team meetings get organized for the day. Really in the solar industry, when it comes to being a sales rep, your kind of day is it doesn't start till later in the day. Yeah. So, but when you're having to work with the back end and, handle installation crews and scheduling, you have a full day. But I still to this day find a couple days a week just to, usually around 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night after, we've eaten dinner. I usually still find some time to play video games and still Fortnite to this day with a couple buddies of mine. I'm actually going to a music festival this next weekend with a buddy of mine he's a DJ out in Florida, and he started a music festival, so met him on Fortnite. The connections that you can make with online gaming today, you never know who you're going to pair up with. So to me, while yes, it's entertainment, it's a stress relief, I'm not very good at the game. But for me, it's a time where I actually can talk with my friends. And actually, I have a couple more people now who are getting into solar from Fortnite. One of my buddies and one of our newest team members actually moved from Virginia to sell solar here in Dallas. Nice. So yeah, he just moved down here about a month ago. His first month, he's already cleared over 25,000. So. Another group of my buddies, the same DJ actually who started the festival in Florida, they're actually now I'm going to be going down there in a couple weeks to actually help them start their team and get installations going down there too.
Nice. So like everything, it just depends on where you network at, but networking is pretty much just key, right?
Absolutely. If you always have to be networking. If you're not networking, then you're not growing. Eventually your name will fade away. And, even when I'm out at a restaurant, if I start to, if I see somebody interesting, I'll casually mention oh, hey, I like your jacket, can get a conversation going. Always be networking because you never know who's going to be the next Grant Cardone that you're speaking with,
So there's one thing that I've noticed a lot with entrepreneurs and even salespeople. There's a lot of entrepreneurs, if that makes sense. How do you differentiate the person when you meet them, when you're out networking and everything like that?
That's a good question. a lot of people are really good at talking. They can say, but it comes down to effort at the end of the day. You're never really going to know that person's effort until you actually start doing something with them. You know, you look at things where, hey, did they show up to the meeting on time? Are they answering your calls? Are they answering your text message in a, you know, respective amount of time? Like, you know, hey, people are busy. I have calls all day long that, hey, sometimes I can't take your call, but I'm going to call you back within a couple hours of you calling me. Same with texting. You know, we live in an age where everybody has their phone now. It's attached to their hip. So if Mark Cuban has time to get back to somebody, then the majority of the rest of us have time to send a simple text back. But, you know, like you said, differentiating between the two, there's a lot of people who can talk the talk, but can they walk the walk? And that's where it really kind of just, you know, differentiates between the two is, are you somebody who's just going to say, hey, I want to have this, this, this? You know, everybody wants the private jets, the Lamborghinis, the big houses. Only a certain amount of people achieve that, you know. So, but, you know, you kind of have to give everybody a shot until they prove you wrong has been, you know, my kind of way of looking at things. So I give everybody a shot, and, you know, if we can do business together, awesome. If you're somebody who, like you said, is a entrepreneur,
everybody starts out there.
Yeah, everybody starts out wanting, you know, everybody starts, you know, some people, yes, are blessed with, you know, a family backing or some stuff like that. You know, I was 100% self-made, you know, come from a good family, but nobody said, hey, here's a small loan of $1 million, you know? So now, and that's not to knock those people who do. You take somebody like Donald Trump, who he was given, you know, a couple $1 million, but he became a billionaire from that.
Yeah.
You still have to have brains. You still have to know who to put in operations. Because I know plenty of people who have trust funds and make that kind of money, and they never become billionaires. So it's just, you know, it's all about your grit. It's about your grind, and, you know, what you're willing to do to actually get to that level and to achieve those things. You know, I was actually watching Suits the other day, and the character on there, Harvey, you know, one of the main characters, says a good thing. He's like, look, I don't have dreams. I have goals. And I just checked another one off my box. You don't check off dreams, you check off goals. So I'm kind of the same way. I don't have dreams, I have goals.
Even with that, like figuring out those people, like those entrepreneurs and everything like that. What about, because the solar industry has a lot, because it's very unregulated right now, has a lot of snakes in it. And every single like CEO that I've talked to has said the same thing. What are those telltale signs that you can find before? I know I talked about that entrepreneur kind of telltale signs, but like for people that you know might snake you, might come in and do stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's even something I'm still cautious with today, because we do partner with other solar companies in areas that we can't install. You know, so whenever I expand into another state and I maybe don't have my own installation crew there, I might partner with a pre-existing installer. You know, really, sometimes you got to kind of just go into it blindly. It's, you know, you got to put your gut feeling out there. I do look at things like, hey, how many employees they have. I will kind of ask around if, hey, does anybody know these? I have a mentor, you know, to this day who, he knows a lot of people in the solar industry. I'll ask him about somebody in particular. Hey, they're good, they're bad, haven't heard much about them. I do my research. So, you know, I am hoping that we do become a regulated market. Just because of that, I think that, you know, some sort of exam, you know, like a real estate license, same thing. There should be a solar license to be able to sell this. You know, and at that point, it will hold more companies accountable, because I think what happens a lot of times is I don't think anybody necessarily starts off on a route to like screw people over, you know. And I think what happens is you get some of these entrepreneurs who they've never experienced money, or they don't see a bigger picture. So what they'll do is they'll see, you know, 1.5 million hit their account on a week from the loan company. Well, out of that 1.5 million, you got to pay your installation crews, you got to pay your materials back for your net 30s, and you got to pay your sales guys. Mm-hmm. You know, at the end of the day, your profit from that 1.5 might only be $20,000, but that was $20,000 you didn't have the week before. And guess what? If you keep paying everybody, they're going to bring you another $20,000 the next week, and hopefully you'll start to make more than that as you grow. But, you know, signs to look out for, obviously, maybe a company who hasn't been in business too long. But at that point, hey, everybody started out from somewhere. That doesn't mean they're a snake. It's just you might want to look at what their past experience was, or how what they were doing in the past. You might want to talk to some of their customers if you can. Know the questions to ask. Hey, what's your install times like? How's payment going? And then look at the reviews. I mean, you can also reach out to past employees. Now, not everybody has the same experience. So that's it's kind of like you walk into Chipotle. Some people love Chipotle and they're never going to leave a good review on it, right? But you get the one guy who found a thumb in his burrito. Well, he's going to leave a bad review. Yeah. But that doesn't speak for the entire company itself. So just really kind of like watch out. I'd say based off the person, look at their lifestyle, look at what they're doing, what have they done to grow their company, and ask them these questions. What's their end goal? If they can't really give you much of a defined answer, or it just sounds like that political kind of runaround, maybe just weigh your options against multiple companies before you really hop into something. Because at the end of the day, solar is a very lucrative industry, but it's like anything. You can make money. You can make a lot of money selling cars. You can make a lot of money selling solar. It's like, what are you going to do? What are you going to put into it? Are you going to treat it as your business? And that's what, like, with our employees here, I say, hey, listen, guys, I'm giving you all a product. You can treat this like your own business. I'm giving you a brand and a product, but promote it how you would do it if you were running the show.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's the number one key that changes salespeople is, like, once they start thinking like it's their own business, then they're able to sit there and actually sell it the right way. Because then they're looking for those referrals. Then they're making sure that if some guy falls through the roof, like, they're there immediately. Yeah. Speaking of that, like, kind of shifting gears to your most interesting customer interaction on, like, the rep side. Yep. Can you tell us a little bit about your most interesting customer interaction?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny you said falling through the roof. We actually had that happen. Yeah, I think I don't exactly know how it happened. I think the guy was running conduit through the attic, weak ceiling, and stepped on the wrong part of the roof. But I think it was one of yours. Yeah, I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah. Cody Wilson. That was it. But no, I'd say my personal most interesting one was, we had a customer who we had sold, and he was asking. He's like, "Hey, what's the durability of these things?" He was kind of a redneck guy. He's a super super cool guy, but like he's like, well, how? I'm like, well, they're practically bulletproof. What's this guy do? I get a phone call the next day. Preston, you need to get out here and get these panels fixed. I done and shot a hole through it with my AR-15. I was like, you did what? Like, you never heard of somebody doing this. He's like, well, you said it was practically bulletproof, and, well, I had a drink or two last night, and I tested it out. Now, typically, we would charge somebody to fix that, because that's not an act of God or anything like that. That is him intentionally vandalizing his property. We did, however, patch his roof for him, and we've got him a new solar panel all hooked up. But, yeah, I would say that was definitely probably my funniest and definitely interesting interaction with a customer.
Yeah, for people like watching there. All right, hold up. I'm gonna take a break real quick. No. When people going and knocking the doors, right? From the rep side, what was kind of like? Because I've had people pull guns on me, like answer the door naked, stuff like that. So it's like, what was one of those where somebody answered the door and you were like, what the heck? What world am I living in right now?
It would probably be, I did have a guy who had a gun, and he seemed a little kind of schizophrenic in a way, and very shaky, and he's like, what the heck do you want, blah blah blah, and hey man, no trouble here, I'm just letting you know you probably qualify for the program. It's a $1,500 cashback incentive. We're here just to lower your electric bill. He's like, you're what? He lowered the gun, and we actually had a conversation. He invited me in, and we ended up sitting on the front porch, though, because after a gun got pulled on me, I know the number one rule in Texas, don't go into that house. But yeah, I mean, you do get you meet a lot of interesting people. And that's kind of what's cool about this business, too, is you meet all walks of life. I've met the multimillionaires who, close to billionaires. The guy has a Bugatti parked in his garage. I've also met the person who, they're like Bubbles from Trailer Park Boys, and they're collecting cans and shopping carts. So, and everything in between. So, but the cool thing is, too, is like with your customers, you kind of, if you're like me, I like to make my things a conversation. So, we're in there sitting in their house, and, they start talking about the Dallas Cowboys, or, they have things from the 1930s that they're showing you old things in their house. So it's like everything in between. There's a lot of interesting stuff you see. So, but yeah.
I have an interesting question for you. With, like, if you could have 3 things that you could tell, or let's go ahead and go with one. If you could have one thing that you could tell, like, any entrepreneur out there getting started, what would that one thing be?
Don't be afraid to fail, because you are going to fail. You're going to have your times where you're doubting yourself. You're going to have your family telling you, hey, maybe you should look at getting a job. Maybe you should do this. The thing is, don't give up on yourself, because if you have a good idea and you have a proof of concept, you can make it work. They always use the example of, the guy who started KFC. He started multiple businesses and wasn't successful until he was like 65 years old. So, don't give up. Now, at the same time, you do have to be realistic. If you are having things that, are happening in your life, or you're getting behind on your bills, things got to be paid, So if you do have to go out and take a part-time job, or take something else that some people might look from a deferment of your dream, you might have to do that just to but you need to find every extra time you can to work on whatever your passion is, or whatever your business is, so you can be doing that full time. Because when it comes to business, you either have to have one of a couple things. You either have to be cash positive or time positive. If you're lucky enough and blessed to have both, that's awesome. But most people only have one or the other when they start a business. And most of us, when we start a business, it's more of the time thing. So it's where you're either going to have to make the time or find the time to really work on it.
Do you think a lot of people, when they first like after they get past like their first like 10K a month or 5K a month, when everything's paid, there's a mindset shift there where you have to be like, okay, I need to buy other people's time?
Yeah, there absolutely is. I mean, I'll give you all a good example is like grocery shopping. Yeah. I very rarely grocery shop now. Not because I don't like to go to the grocery store or anything, but it's because if I have a DoorDasher, or I have somebody who's getting my groceries for me, right. Yeah, I took the time to go click the stuff online. That took me maybe 10, 15 minutes, right? Versus the hour of finding all those items in the store, then waiting in the lines, having to drive there, drive back. I could have spent that hour and a half, 2 hours doing something more productive. So for the $15 it costs to have somebody deliver it, why not? Now you get somebody like my mom, who my mom's like, well, do you really need to pay that? And she's looking at it as a $15 charge. I'm looking at it as 2 hours in time. That's the difference. But yeah, I mean, if I can find things or people who can accomplish goals for me where it's going to make sense and it frees up my time, I'm actually looking at getting a cleaning lady right now. Not because, and I've always said I was never going to be the person who did that, but it's because, yes, I can't afford it, but it's more of the time thing. Hey, do I want to spend my Saturday doing laundry for 4 hours? Or would I rather be out with my fiance, grabbing brunch with some friends, or going to the lake, or, things like that. And that's where, yeah, money can buy your time, and also the more time that you can accumulate, the more time have to focus on building your business. If you can have a sales team over here where they're selling for you and bringing you in money, yes, you're taking a smaller cut because now they're making the majority of the money. They're doing most of the work. But now that frees up your time to be doing interviews and hiring more people on. Right. You can be expanding your business. You can be finding more products. You can be finding better costs to make everybody more money. So, you are essentially buying that time of those people to work for you.
Right. With that kind of like shifting gears again, one of my questions I had for you was, how do you utilize tech in your business?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now we use a system called Airtable, which does a lot of automations for us. We use Airtable. We use a product called Solo, which is for our proposal builder. And then we also use SalesRabbit. So SalesRabbit is a digital pretty much map that shows homeowners in the area. So for our door knocking team, it actually gives scores based off of the home's interestedness in solar or possibility of it, down to also if they qualify. It gives you anywhere from a 1 to a 10. Homes that have a higher rating are obviously higher approved for solar most of the time. So it might say a 9.2, and the person's credit score is a 780. Between a 780 and an 820 is what it will tell you. It'll tell you the household income. Oh, it's between $150,000 and $200,000, things like that, and it gives you the person's name. So we utilize that, which from there we can actually run credit to actually see if the homeowner is qualified. Right. And we can even request proposals directly from our Solo on it as well. Pre-fills out the information. Nice. Now the system's being built, so it makes the rep not have to have as much time entering in the information manually. It's all done automated. So once a deal is actually signed on Solo, it's then sent over directly to Airtable. Airtable sends out an automated email that requests the site survey pictures from each rep. Once the rep has done that, that's uploaded. It gets sent off to engineering. The rep gets an email. The customer gets an email. So everything is automated now down to your install dates and everything else.
So with that, I mean, I guess the big topic of this conversation has all been saving time. That's the number one thing that you can't get back. And I think even buying time in all of these places is basically time travel. It's like, okay, cool. I get to go ahead and have all these savings. So kind of we're getting close on time now. So for anybody wanting to start door knocking or the guy who's over here maybe 16 or 23, something like that, and he's looking for an end to any industry, I guess you're going to say solar would probably be the best industry for him to get into?
Solar is definitely one of the best industries to get into right now. I mean, because here's the thing. It's one of the only industries you don't need an education. You don't need any sort of licensing at the moment. And really, it's something you can kind of pick up quick. The other reason is electricity is something that everybody needs right now. So most or 100% of homeowners who actually own their home is a viable candidate for it. Now, do they pass credit, or do they have a high enough bill where it makes sense? Those are different factors that play into it. But yeah, for somebody who is looking to get into an industry where they can have a jump start on making good money fast, the way I like to, we'll go back to the time thing. It's been a big conversation. For spending 4 to 5 hours a day door knocking Monday through Friday, it's 20 hours a week. Like I said, I have a guy who just started, and he's already cleared over $25,000 his first month. So he's working half the time that a normal person works a 40-hour job. Right. The average 40-hour job in America right now makes between $50,000 and $60,000. So he has now literally skyrocketed himself into the top 2 to 3% in the country. And he actually left an IT job where he was making over $100,000 a year, doing IT. But he decided, hey, I'm kind of stuck here. There's not much room for growth. I want to take it to that 7-figure level, So now people will tell you too that, hey, you're going to have that. Not everybody has that success right off the bat. He's somebody who is also going out on Saturday and Sundays right now. He's not just working Monday through Friday. He's putting in more than the bare minimum. But even with the bare minimum, there's guys still clearing over $10,000 a month. Yeah. And some of our girls right now, I have one girl who the past 3 months in a row, she's cleared over $50K each month. So, it's and she came from an apartment, locating business. So she's really changed her life completely. And now she's actually becoming one of our managers, and we're putting a team up underneath her. So really when it comes to getting in this, if you got the power, you got the drive, and the dedication. I mean, and really you have to have that grit. Right now it sucks. It's 105 degrees outside. Door knocking is not fun. But if you look at it as a way for you can use this to really, financially change yourself. And the way I look at solar too is it's a good industry you can get into because you can make that kind of money, but it can fuel your passions for your other businesses. Yeah. I've told that to many people. Hey, what's your end goal? I had a guy who was working for me. He's like, I want to start a gym. And I'm like, well, how much to start to, he's like, well, I could buy a building for 500,000. Like, okay, what's your down payment? He's like, 100K. He did it in the summer. He made his 100K deposit, and he stayed in solar, but he also had the ability to start his own gym. So, that's one thing about it too, is like, I'm never going to deter somebody from starting their dream, but this is an avenue to get to that dream faster.
I've seen that a lot with people in the solar industry. Is it like this solar industry is like a catalyst for them to go ahead and get started? Another thing I've noticed is I've done door-to-door for pest control, lawn care, solar. I've always noticed that when I knock for solar, I knock the least amount of time. And then when you knock for like pest control and lawn care, you're out there for like 9 hours. Yeah. Do you think a lot of solar reps, like, because the money's so big, they just get complacent when it comes to knocking those doors?
There gets to be a little bit of laziness where you're like, hey, you know what? I know I'm only going to go out once or twice a week. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's a 1099 position. You're getting to, you can make your own time, your own hours. But at the same time, you're only getting paid what you sell. Right. So, yeah, I do see people get complacent, but it's also what they're trying to accomplish. The guy who is trying to, start the business that he really wants to do, or the people who, they want the cars, the houses, whatever. They're usually putting in more of the work. They get that first $50,000 paycheck, and they're like, yeah, I'm going to take the month off, but then the money dries up real quick. Right. The money, especially with inflation right now, it doesn't last what it used to. But yeah, I mean, I have seen that, and I do, even since COVID hit, COVID made people lazier. It did. As a nation and society, we became lazier. Before that, people were lining up for jobs. People, when the government started handing out all that money, they wanted to stop working, and even now that some of that mentality is stuck around. So finding the hustlers, that is more difficult to do, but when you do find them, you have to you kind of have to mentor them to not get complacent. Where, hey, go out there Monday through Friday, keep making the money, because solar, in my opinion, has a bubble. Yeah. For the next 5 to 8 years, you can make millions, because Joe Biden did extend it out for 10 years for the federal tax credit, which means it's going to be around for at least 10 years. But with regulation and everything that will happen, I think during the course of that time, there is a ticking time bomb on how much money you can make, and to make the big money that you can right now. Also, I mean, federal rates keep climbing, so it's pushing profit and margins down, and it's making the price of solar go up for homeowners, where it doesn't make necessarily as much sense on a short-term scale. Solar always makes sense on a long-term scale. But a lot of homeowners look at it as a short term, where now you can really no longer sell it on much of a right now bill savings. It might kind of be a bill swap. They're going to see savings over the next couple of years automatically. But, that's where the education to our homeowners and stuff really has to come into play, to explain how the process is now.
Do you think that's going to lead to more of a shift to leases?
Yeah, I have started seeing a lot more of the PPAs being sold, PPA and cash deals. But at the end of the day, when you do look at the financing aspect of it, it still makes sense over time. And because the problem with leases is you're kind of stepping into the realm of, you're not owning it. You're still not owning your power. You're still, so I personally am not a huge lease fan. We've sold some in the past, but really we focus on more of our customers gaining that energy independence, and they're really locking in a rate.
Is it more basically figuring out where the right thing for them is? Because what comes to my mind is if someone's like super old, they can't get the tax credit. Right. It's like, let's go ahead, put you in either a community solar payment or like leasing.
So yeah, now in the past, absolutely. Like an elderly person would be better off with a PPA situation. Or now, as of this past February, they've actually made the solar tax credit transferable. So homeowners are actually going to be able to transfer it over to like a family member or even a friend who could qualify for it. Actually, I'm in the process right now of starting a business with my future brother-in-law, where we're actually going to be purchasing tax credits back from individuals. So Now, it won't be for 100% of the tax credit. It might be for like 50% of its value. So, for example, what we're going to be able to do is like, let's take you own a company, right?
Yeah.
And you have to pay taxes at the end of the year. Well, we'll take a homeowner who has a $10,000 tax credit. We're going to give them $5,000 for that tax credit. Now, they probably would have qualified for nothing before. So as long as they take that $5,000 and they do give it back to the bank, their payment's still going to go up, but not as much as what it would have gone up. So you're helping them out there. Then with the other $5,000, because like I said, it's a $10,000 tax credit.
Right.
We're typically going to be selling those for 80% on the dollar to a company. So your company would buy the tax credit for $8,000, giving you a 20% savings on your taxes because it's a free $2,000.
That's awesome.
Now our company, we profited $3,000 for it, for the connection between, and what we're able to do at that point is we're able to partner with every solar company across the nation, as well as we can now partner with CPA firms. We can partner with other companies. So you take somebody like Elon Musk, who owes $1 billion in taxes. Well, if you could sell him $1 billion worth of tax credits for $800 million, your company profits $200 million. Yeah. And he saves $200 million on his taxes. And your company, you could probably work out a special deal with him where you're maybe not making as high of a percentage. But you also helped out a whole bunch of homeowners. Yeah. So it's kind of a multi-billion-dollar, probably future company that we're kind of playing with when we looked at the market numbers. So
awesome.
That's kind of, and I have seen other companies in the past, like we'll take Elon Musk, and he was buying the tax credits for the EV vehicles from customers who didn't qualify for them, and then he was able to do it for the same thing, utilize those credits for his own business. But yeah, since February this past year, they made it where it's transferable. So that's also why I look at leases where, hey, now homeowners can get the tax credit.
Yeah. From what you're saying, it's all being creative as being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Like figuring out where you can provide that value, because like that's an insane amount of value.
Oh yeah.
That is insane. Yeah. But other than that, what can everybody expect from you in the future?
Like I said, we're working on that tax credit business right now. That's kind of the goals right now. We're also expanding into Florida. We're expanding into Washington. This past year, we've now expanded into Oklahoma. We're still in Texas, Arizona, Nevada. Really my goal for moving forward is to really just grow kind of our internal companies, welcoming on also more partners. Because we do have a dealer program where what we'll do is we'll partner with other companies. Like, let's say you don't want to be named EnerG. You might want to be ABC Solar. That's fine. We put you up under our dealer program. You run your own company. Once again, we're just kind of providing you a product for it. So we really want to kind of grow that base there. We want to kind of become a household name across the United States. And then honestly, we're looking at going international as well. So the international markets in Europe are actually really, there's a lot of solar there. But their buyback programs are kind of start up more, and so that's kind of like an area that we're looking to expand into as well.
I heard Australia is really awesome for solar.
Australia is a good one. It's it's kind of capped out now, on a little island, but it's I know definitely know solar's still going on over there, and there's a lot of call centers that are actually in Australia that will sell solar over here as well.
Yep. Well, awesome. Well, other than that, I'll go ahead and catch y'all later. I'm going to have all the links in the description so you guys can check him out. Any reps that are looking to go ahead and get started, do you do virtual?
Yeah, we do virtual sales as well. So, if it is something that y'all would be looking to even get into part-time, it's something that you can definitely do that. Now, I'm never going to lie to anybody and tell them, hey, you're going to have the success of somebody who's doing this full-time, but even if you sell 1 or 2 deals every couple months, that's still some extra money in your pocket that can be a supplemental income. And we have trainers here that are willing to help you. We're not we're not a throw you to the dogs kind of company. We really work one-on-one if you want to, invest your time into working with us.
Exactly. That's awesome. It's like the first thing for them to go ahead and get started. Even if they're 18, turning 18, check out the link in the description and just go ahead and get started.
Awesome.
Do it. All right.
Appreciate it, guys.